Hey guys, we are back updating the power rankings for Big Brother 25 during week 13. Now I am doing this a day earlier than usual, and that's because tomorrow I will be doing my jury scenarios video for this season, so stay tuned for that. But obviously here we're doing the power rankings, and at this point, I feel like the season's pretty much done, where I feel like it's kind of grind itself to a halt, and there doesn't seem to be many scenarios that can happen at this point considering the state of things. But we'll still talk about where these players are. But there are 7 players to talk about, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the video. So starting off at number 7, we have the first boot from the double, and here we have Blue. And obviously this wasn't too surprising. I mean, Blue is pretty much cooked by the time of Thursday night. The only question was whether or not it was going to be a blindside. However, it looks like she was told moments before the eviction, so much for a blindside here. And obviously I said my piece about Blue. I feel like she played a pretty mediocre game, and it was kind of frustrating seeing her like rat out her allies all the time and her kind of playing passively at points, but also trying pretty poorly to be a floater. And I feel like in general, like, again, there isn't too much positive to say about her. But again, she's out of the game now, which is why she's here at number 7. Now moving on to number 6, and we have the other boot from the double eviction, and here we have America. Again, not too surprising, especially once we saw the HOH result, where America felt to be one of the more likely people to leave, considering she was one of the more likely people to go after the likes of Matt and Jag, while also being somewhat threatening in comps, even though she never really won a comp across the season. And I do feel kind of bad for her. You can very much tell how emotional she got on her way out, where she was literally pleading with Matt after the veto to use it on her, only for it to not really have any shot of going through. And she was just really emotional, obviously, as she was being voted out. And she even got a nice moment during her interview with Julie, where she called out production for her seeing the same thing happening over and over again with the same guys just winning comp after comp. I felt like that was kind of cathartic seeing her calling them out like that. But obviously, America's out of the game now. And in general, I feel like she's definitely a player that had some potential in the game. I do like that she had some killer instinct. And there are definitely some flashes here and there with her game. But obviously, by the end, she just didn't have too much runaway. And plus, I don't really see how she wins the game by the end of it, where I find it hard to see how she wins a jury vote based on how people are talking about her on their way out, as we even saw with the players celebrating as she was leaving the house. So I didn't really feel like she had much of a shot at the end of it, but I still like her nonetheless. But obviously, again, she's out of the game now, which is why she's here at number 6. And with that, there are 5 players left in the game to talk about, and as usual, I'll be ranking them based on how likely I think they are to win based off their current game position. But at number 5, we have the person most likely to leave on Thursday night, and here we have Suri. And it sucks to see this, and especially considering that she came relatively close to winning the HOH during the double, where at one point she had a 2-point lead in the comp, but just kind of crumbled by the end of it. And even coming into this week, Matt was probably her best case scenario of the 3 of Matt, Jag, and Bowie to win HOH, as Matt was the closest to Suri, and Matt even considered taking a shot at Jag. But Matt just kind of crumbles here and just puts Felicia and Suri on the block, and doesn't really attempt to take a shot here, where I feel like it would have been better if Bowie was on the block instead, but again, no shot of it happening. And once Jag won the veto, her goose was pretty much cooked at that point. And yes, well, you could argue she has a shot. I feel like at this point, like, it just doesn't make sense for the likes of Jag and Bowie, the only 2 people voting, to keep her in the game, as she is better in comps compared to Felicia. And it's clear that they're thinking about like how they're going to take out all the people that could potentially challenge them in comps moving forward. And I feel like that kind of leaves Suri as the biggest threat there. So it's unfortunate to see, but at this point, it does look like she'll be voted out on Thursday, which is why she's here at number 5. Now moving on to number 4, and we have the person Suri sitting next to on the block, and here we have Felicia. And I feel like at this point, I don't really see much of a path for Felicia winning the game. I feel like the only way she wins is in a final 2 against Bowie. However, even then, I could see a world where Bowie wins, considering her comp wins, considering that people like Matt and Jag will probably be advocating for her at that point. I feel like Felicia has a very narrow path to the end, and even if she got there, I just don't see how she wins at this point, which is a bit unfortunate. However, you can definitely attribute some of that to her own gameplay during this past week. And while Suri did try to undercut her to a degree, I feel like with Suri going out, that obviously gets her a little further in the game. She will technically outlast Suri, but really, I feel like she's probably going to be cut at 4. And if not, I don't really see how she wins at this point, which is why she's here at number 4. Now moving on to number 3, and obviously we're down to the trio of Matt, Jag, and Bowie, and it's just a matter of ordering them. But at number 3, I did decide to go with Bowie here. And I did debate between Bowie and the next person here, as I feel like Bowie's obviously the least likely to win a jury vote of these 3 people, obviously. I mean, I feel like her winning HOH was kind of a waste here, and I feel like she didn't really do herself any favors by not even bothering to take a shot here, just making it very clear that she's playing the game for Matt and Jag, doesn't really make a move to help herself at all, and obviously I feel like there's no way she gets America's vote at this point, considering that America really wanted to fight and probably will not respect the gameplay of someone like a Bowie at this point. Again, I also talked about her jury management with Corey and America at this point. Again, I won't harp on that too much. And even with her being the least likely to win, I still question whether she can actually get to the end, as I feel like there's definitely a world where she could be cut. There's even a chance that she could have been cut at this final 5 round had Matt actually decided to make a move here. And Jag won the veto per se. So it's not like I'm very high on Bowie's game. I would find her to be a very underwhelming winner. I find her at this point to be a mostly underwhelming player. But at the end of the day, she's not on the block. And at the end of the day, she has a very good shot of making it to the final 2 at this point, especially with certain developments that have happened recently. So I feel like that was enough to have Bowie at this high on the list at least. Though at this point in the season, being number 3 isn't exactly a good thing. So she's here at number 3. Now moving on to number 2, and there's definitely a debate for this person being below Bowie at this point, especially with the way that they played this week. However, I still think this person has more of a shot of actually winning the game if they get to the end, and here we have Matt. And I feel like the way Matt has played this week has been pretty bad, if you ask me, where he needed to keep Suri in the game, as Suri is someone that can, 1, help him take a shot against Jag, someone that could beat him at this point, but also ensure that he still has someone around that he can beat in comps and someone that will take him to the end. However, in a lot of ways, he kind of gets the worst of both worlds here, where for 1, Jag finds out that Matt was thinking about targeting him at some point, which has caused Jag to accelerate the potential of targeting Matt at this point. Where before, Jag was almost guaranteed to take Matt to the end, now that's not entirely secure, which is pretty bad there. But also, him losing Suri at this point is also bad, especially with him being the final 5 HOH, as it means that at this point, he really only has 1 shot of saving himself, and that's the final 4 veto, as I feel like in a lot of cases, he could potentially lose out here, where I feel like if Jag's the one casting the vote, I feel like he probably cuts Matt there. I feel like if Bowie is the one casting the vote, yeah, there's probably a chance that she cuts Felicia, though I could very well see Jag getting in her ear and taking out Matt in that position. And I feel like if Felicia were to be in that spot, yeah, I feel like it could depend on who's on the block next to him, but I still feel like Matt's definitely in the worst spot now compared to if Suri were staying in the game. I feel like the fact that he just gives up so easily in trying to defend Suri, where him getting rid of Suri is pretty bad for his game, while it's very beneficial to Jag's game, is a bad look. And I feel like it's definitely narrowed Matt's path in terms of getting to the end. I can't really defend that. And when you factor in the fact that he's going to have only 1 chance of securing his safety going into this final 4 round, that's definitely a lot to take in. But I still feel like compared to Bowie, he is more likely to win a jury vote. I feel like that's probably the main deciding factor for me. And plus, even though Jag's proven to be the better competitor between Matt and Jag, I still have some faith in Matt to win that final 4 veto. I mean, it just depends on what the comp is, obviously, but I feel like that was enough to have him above Bowie, which is why I have him here at number 2. And now, at number 1, the person I believe is the most likely to win Big Brother 25 right now is Jag. And I feel like this past week has really propped up Jag in terms of his win equity, where at this point, he knows that Matt is going after him. And obviously, with that, he knows that he's probably going to have to cut Matt before Matt has a chance to cut him. He's also losing Suri this week, which, as I said a moment ago, is very bad for Matt's game, but it's also pretty beneficial for Jag's game as it opens things up a bit more for him to take out Matt at the final 4 if he were to have that opportunity. You also have the fact that he has a chance of just winning that final 4 HOH, where, again, he has 2 chances now of securing his safety there, and with him being the better competitor between him and Matt, I feel like that's a high likelihood of happening. I feel like with Suri going out this week, Jag has a very high likelihood of actually getting to the end, where again he'll have 2 chances to save himself a final 4, and he's almost guaranteed to be in part 3 of final HOH, where at that point I would have more faith in him winning a quiz comp compared to Matt as well, which at that point would secure Jag's spot in the final 2. And I feel like at the same time, I feel like he definitely has more of a shot against Matt now, where at this point he's won a decent amount of comps. I feel like with Matt cutting Suri here and at least being willing to let Suri go, I feel like that's definitely a knock against Matt's winning chances as well, to where I feel like Jag has more of a shot there. And I feel like if Jag just keeps winning more comps than Matt, I feel like that'll just garner him respect naturally from the jury, which while I wouldn't be very happy with that, I feel like that's a very real possibility of happening at this point. So all in all, like while I feel like Jag for the longest time was the bigger target between Matt and Jag, I feel like at this point, I just have more faith in Jag to actually get to the end in a winning position than Matt, which is why I have him here at number 1. And there we go, that'll do it for this week's video. If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe, really helps out the channel. Now I will probably be making one more power ranking before the season's done, but at the very least I'll be making my jury scenarios video this week, so you can stay tuned for that. I'm obviously covering Survivor 45, The Amazing Race 35, and Survivor UK all at the same time, which is quite a lot, but you know, like it is what it is. So stay tuned for that. I am also on Patreon, so if you want to consider supporting the channel, you can do so by clicking the link in the description. And if you haven't already, you can also join the Discord server by clicking the link in the description. There's a lot of stuff coming your way, but for now, that is the video. See ya.